Hi everyone, and welcome back to Star Trek Online, and this is an introductory video and a sort of short video to a brand new ship. I'm sure you guys probably recognise it from the winter event. It's the Saar carrier. The Tier 6 or T6 ship that has been released from the winter event. It's a Breen carrier and it's really good. I'm actually surprised that they would release a ship as good as this for a winter event. I've not quite got it up to 100% scratch, mainly because I'm not using the correct fighters, because I don't have the Breen frigate unlocked, so I can't get the elite frigates for the for this carrier, so oh well, never mind. But I thought I'd introduce you guys to the build I'm using. Let's just have a look here. Let's bring it up. Still on my science captain. The other thing I am trying in this video, I'm trying recording at 60 FPS, so I might get some slowdown, but this is as an experiment for the future to see if I can do it. Anyway, let's have a look at it. It's currently called the USS Volgograd, although it should probably be called the USS You Bastard for what it's got, for what I'm aiming to do with it. This is a build I pretty much picked up bits and bats off on Reddit, and I sunk quite a bit of dilithium and cash into it because I actually had it available, so I thought, why not? You can see I sunk about 50 million energy credits into it, maybe a bit more. And I actually did about 200,000 dilithium into it as well, upgrading a load of stuff. So I put a lot into this. So don't anticipate that if you're not sort of at the top end of stuff in the game that you can do this right off the bat. But I will discuss some ways we can do this sort of build on a budget. The reason I'm at Deep Space Nine is so I can show you the statistics of the ship at the moment. As you can see, I've only got level 1 mastery at the moment. Level 2 mastery will give me 10% more hull, level 3 will give me more shield regeneration, and 4 will give me more shield hit points. So it's going to be a lot tougher once I get up to rank 4 mastery, but it's just not quite there yet. But if we just have a look at the moment, I have 76,000 hull, somewhere in that region. 9.7 thousand shields on each side and about 28 all resist. This is fairly low, certainly in case of all resist, but what I will do in the engineering console for sure, I will probably replace the tachyokinetic converter with a one of the crafted RCS consoles with flow capacitors on it, or particle generators. I haven't quite decided which way to go with that yet. But as you can probably see if you recognise this stuff, this is a drain build. The idea isn't to do stupidly high DPS, because you can see my crit chance isn't that high. It's only about 17%. My crit severity is also quite low. But the idea isn't that this is going to be the ship that's going to be rolling with scimitars doing a load of damage. What this is going to do is act as crowd control. It's also going to act as basically shutting down big targets, so your guys who do deal huge damage can do damage. And what it's mainly based around is, if you check here, I have over 300 flow caps, and that is pretty much the central point of the build. This improves shield drain and energy drain, and the ship just has drain all over it. So I'll show you the stuff that I have here. Weaponry, I'm using 5 protonic polaron beam arrays with crit D ×2. I've upgraded them to Mark 14 because crit D ×2 is something that you're going to want on these. You'd actually want crit D ×4 on a lot of weapons if you can. That's why anti-proton's so popular at the moment, because you can get crit D ×4 epic anti-protons, and they already come with a crit D ability on them anyway, so you're looking at like 100% crit severity when they hit, so that's why you're getting to see stupid numbers with them. Another reason to upgrade to Mark 14, you get Mark 12 from the Dyson Rep. This is where you pick these up from the Dyson Reputation area. The biggest jump in damage for weapons is between Mark 13 and 14, and the second biggest jump is Mark 12 to 13. They really put it in this game that you need to upgrade. Well, you don't need to, but if you want to be throwing out numbers that you actually can be bothered with, you probably need to go from Mark 12 to Mark 14 with your weapons. Those of you who saw the Dralafi doing sort of 12k DPS, somewhere around there. If I upgraded those anti-proton weapons to crit D ×3 and put them to Mark 14, I would be doing a lot more damage, but I don't really want to sink about... I mean, I've sunk 50 mil into this, but, you know, I don't really want to sink another 50 million, although I suppose the investment would pay for itself over time. The sixth weapon I'm using here is I'm actually using the Hyperdual Refracting Tetrion Beam Bank, which I've also upgraded to Mark 14. If you actually have a look on this side, which tells you how much damage it does, you're looking at 1,200 DPS for that weapon, and sort of 900 for these. So they're pretty far above what my anti-proton weapons do, I think, but as you can see, there's less of them. The reason I'm packing this is because, number one, it bounces across things, so therefore the Plasmonic Leech works very well with it. Secondly, it's part of the new Kara 2 set, which I'm using. I might replace it in the future with the Neutronic Torpedo from the Delta Rep, but I haven't got any Ancient Power Cells at the moment, so I can't craft anything from the Delta Rep. Deflector, I'm using the Jem'Hadar Deflector Edition. This is where everyone can go, yay, something I can get from a mission. The Jem'Hadar Deflector Dish is available from the Dominion Arc, the Cardassian Arc. It's really good. Drain builds have been using Jem'Hadar stuff for a long period of time. Gives you a really big... I mean, at Mark 14 it gives you a huge boost of flow capacitors, graviton generators, and inertial dampers. So, you know, you get big bonuses to those, and that's why I'm holding it. The Solnay Deflector is also an option here if you want more particle generators. But I decided to go with Jem'Hadar because I'm basically going all in on Drain in the first build and then just seeing what I can do on otherwise. And then we've got a 3 set. The 3 set is actually the Breen set. Again, one that you can get in a mission, so yay. Really, there's nothing that spectacular about either of the 3 pieces, which is a bit disappointing. But if we go to the info, the 2-part gives me EPS, which I suppose is okay because we're draining a lot of energy and it needs to shift about, so that's okay. The transphasic projectile damage is worthless unless I want to transform into a transphasic torpedo boat. Say I'm doing the crystalline entity, I can probably transform to that. But the big one is this, the Breen Energy Siphon. It actually does more than that because I'm in a Breen ship. It's 25% more effective, and flow capacitors is what gives you this huge power drain on your opponent. It's one of the reasons I like the Breen. The way they're done in this game, they actually feel like they're being sort of, you know, it feels like their abilities are very closely linked to what's in the canon. You know, you've got the power setting, you've got their ability to drain energy, and boy are they good at it. And this build is fully capable of shutting down tactical cubes and things like that. So it's a really nice build overall that I like, and congratulations to the person on Reddit who did it. So what else have we got here now we've gone through the weapons? I'm using a deuterium surplus. This gives me an extra evasive maneuvers because the carrier is a bit slow. Weapon battery, auxiliary battery. I'm also using a transphasic torpedo platform. That's just a placeholder. I would probably use the subspace modulator, I believe it is. That's the one that gives you like huge resistances to everything apart from proton damage. So I would probably use that once I get hold of it. I think I need to do a Breen mission in order to do that. Engineering consoles. I have the new Kara particle converter, Mark 14. Gives me a little bit of a boost to particle generator, gives me more accuracy, but the most important bit really of having the 2 set is that I get a bit more Tetrion damage, so my irrelevant really. but I get a buff to my flow capacitors as well. So that's pretty nice. This will be something that I probably look to switch around when the Delta Rep comes out. I'll probably end up with... Up front, I'll probably end up with the torpedo, and at the back, probably one of the other beam weapons. And then here, I will probably acetone assimilator, maybe also a another science. Well, I can't put another science console in there, but maybe the assimilated console or something like that. Engineering console, plasmonic leech. You need this for this build. There's absolutely no way you can get away with it. Yep, they're 40-50 million on the exchange at the moment, but you need one of these basically to run this build. You can't run it without it. One of the reasons that you're running Polaron weaponry in this game, if you scroll down the million things that this weapon does, somewhere there is a 2.5% chance that it gives minus 62.6 all current power levels. So with beam array, fire at will, etc., you will just shut your opponents down, and you're using various other things to just make a mess of everything. It's really incredible. Tachyokinetic converter, really because it's probably the best all-round console. Flight rate, graviton generators, so I get a really big black hole and crit chance and crit severity on it. I think it's probably the best module. I would like to upgrade its rarity though, just to make it a bit better. Science consoles, this isn't going to surprise anybody. These are all the embassy consoles. They give plus plasma damage, and they give you a 2.5% chance to put a plasma damage dot on your opponent, which ignores shields. So yep, I'm setting them on fire as well. I have 2 of the nullifiers and 2 of the amplifiers, so the net effect is I gain threat. Wonderful. But I'm not too sure that's too big of a deal at this point. I'll probably want another nullifier at some point, but what I will be doing is I will replace this, the generating one, I'll replace that with a crafted particle exciter when I get one of those. And I was fortunate enough for one of them to go epic when I upgraded it to Mark 14. So these give me huge buffs to flow capacitors. You're talking 140 between those 4 consoles. Big buffs. Fighters, I would use the frigates, but I don't have them. So second best option, Elite Scorpion fighters. These have high yield plasma torpedoes, and guess what's good when your opponent has no shields, which is what happens when he's facing this ship. He has no shields. So because you've got 12 of them, I believe, on the field when you launch them all, you just see 12 high yield plasma torpedoes go straight for your opponent. If he has no shields, or he's caught in a black hole or something like that, it's game over. And finally, the one slightly controversial bit of this, vulnerability locators, you need them. However, this is a plus beam one, not a plus Polaron one, which I imagine that most people would have gone for. The reason plus beam is these science consoles, because the beam effect actually increases the plasma dot, increases the damage of the plasma dot. So therefore, this plus the damage of the Polaron actually does more damage than having just Polaron alone. Secondarily, I do have a Tetrion weapon up here, so the plus beam actually lets me do a Scuttleboat. And thirdly, I bought them because I want to build a Scuttleboat at some point in the future, okay? But this isn't true tried and tested Scuttleboat. Now, this stuff is not going to be cheap to get. All these consoles are 9,000 dilithium and 50,000 fleet credits each. These are 9,000 dilithium and 50,000 fleet credits each. 50 million energy credits. The tachyokinetic converter you can only get from the Lobby store, if I remember correctly. Nukara console is rep. These are 20,000 dilithium each on the rep. This is 30,000 dilithium on the rep. Mission, and then you've got to upgrade everything as well. So, and these are 35,000 dilithium each, the Elite Scorpions. So this is an expensive build to do. So you could do it on the cheap. let's say you're not actually looking for the full end, you just want to try out what this sort of build can do. What I'd recommend is that you just put polar on weapons up front. Any type will do. Try and get decent modifiers, but you know, don't spend like 10 million energy credits on getting a crit D ×3 polar on. If you're not sure you want to use the build, get used to... I mean, I've only flown the build a couple of times, but I can already say, after flying it twice, I'm not only trolling the AI an awful lot more, I'm actually doing more DPS than the Dralafi did. So, you know, overall the build definitely works. Things that you could also do on the cheap. You can't get away without a plasmonic leech. I'm sorry, guys, you really can't. If you want to build, if you want this build, you cannot get away without having a plasmonic leech. Science consoles, you could just put flow cap consoles in there. You don't necessarily need the plasma dots. You will basically just be a straight up drain build. You won't be doing pretty much any DPS. You'll be pretty much a support build. So what I might recommend is going particle generators as well on top, so that you can just throw out massive gravity wells and other such things that will just do a load of damage. In fact, I'm actually tempted to do that. Say get rid of a couple of things for particle exciters, maybe drop my flow capacitors to about 250 and get my particle exciters up to 250 as well, and then you'll just see like stuff exploding once it gets into your grav wells. Tactical consoles, vulnerability locators you really should get hold of. The one advantage of these consoles, the scientific consoles and the tactical consoles, is that they are very cheap to upgrade. From 12 to 14, they're incredibly cheap, and they probably have the biggest effect on your DPS of any console, so I would recommend getting these. 400,000 fleet credits isn't really that much to get. If you think about it, for every fleet mark you get 50 fleet credits, so you need like 8,000 fleet credits, and that assumes that you 8,000 fleet marks, and that assumes that you don't donate anything. And while that sounds like a lot, in your duty officer overview down here, if you keep doing, your duty officers right and submitting at your fleet starbase to turn fleet marks into fleet credits, you will get 8,000. You'll get your fleet credits quickly enough. If your fleet is not tier 3, look around for a public service chat. The one I use is Nerds of Prey. If you get one of them, you can get an invite into a tier 3 spire and you'll be able to buy the consoles. So if there's anything I would recommend, like you should spend money on, it's these consoles, because they'll do you well throughout the game. Especially since now that some guys have done the maths and crunched that beam is better than standard if you're using more than 2 of these science consoles. It might actually be worth your while to invest in the beam ones. Other ways we can cut down, you can use basic fighters. Again, if you're just looking to try out the build, use the chaos fighters that come with the ship. You know, there's nothing really wrong with them. You just want to get used to actually trying things out. Anyway, that's the equipment. Let's have a look at what skills I'm using. Actually, first things first, duty officers, otherwise you won't understand why I've got certain skills. I have 3 very rare Deflector officers. These reduce the recharge time for Deflector abilities, so that's Grabwell, Tychon's Rift, Tachyon Beam, and also the Breen Energy Siphon is counted as a Deflector ability as well. So, you know, that gets an awful lot of... that's awfully good. Basically, that is awfully, awfully good. Tractor Beam Officer, I'm using the push-pull one, the one that turns Tractor Beam Repulsor into a pull. That is useful in a couple of ways. First off, if you want to bunch a load of stuff on top of you, really easy to do. Get stuff really close to you, your weapons do more damage. I can also fire off the refracting Tetrion Cascade if I do that. And as you can see here, the Tetrion Cascade does quite a lot of damage. Additionally, the leech effect happens and the plasma dot effect happens as well. So we're talking, we're talking serious commitment going on here. Using a gravimetric scientist, chance to create an aftershock Tychon's Rift. You can use a Grabwell one if you want as well. I'm kind of umming and ahhing about which ones to have in which order. I believe for pure drain I should go Tychon's Rift 3, but that only gives me Gravwell 1, which I think I might be a little bit better off with Tychon's Rift 2 and Gravwell 3. I don't think much can go wrong either way on this front. And finally, I have a Diplomat, and this is, I believe this is one of the ones that you get in, I believe you get this from one of the missions. But this one is the recipients of your engineering, science and tactical team abilities gain a chance to drain weapon power from attackers when struck with energy weapons. And we've got huge flow capacitors, so it works a lot. So 25% chance minus 55 weapons power to the attacker if you've got one of these teams on run. So what teams do I have on run? I have a science team, attack team, 2 engineering teams and a science team. So this ability is going to be up pretty much constantly. And I also have some disable weapons up here, some disables up here as well. So we've got all that up. We've got polar on drains. And so let's have a look at the abilities before. I guess you guys probably want to see it in action, right? So Science Team 1, big shield buff and weapon power thing, diplomat thing. Tractor Beam Repulsor. This is actually a pull now, not a push. And it deals 958 kinetic damage per second, so it deals a lot of damage. And actually, I think it deals more damage if your attacker can't move. This is one of the big reasons that I have for potentially increasing my particle generators, because this will deal a lot more damage, and you just keep these on rotation. Standard tactical, you got Tac Team, Attack Pattern Beta, and Fire at Will 3. Engineering Team 1 and 2 on engineering, they're the only ones I have. I don't have emergency power to weapon and shields on rotation. That's mainly because of the Diplomat. If I didn't have the Diplomat, I would just build Drake and go emergency power to weapons and shields. And on science, on Commander Science, we have Hazard Emitters 1 for a really big hull heal and a hazard debuff. Another Tractor Beam Repulsor, Tychon's Rift 2, which is a big power drain, yawn another power drain, has chances to create aftershocks, chance to recharge my deflector abilities, all that good stuff. Gravity Well 3, huge black hole, huge hole, does a lot of damage, lines things up so my my Scorpions are actually on the field, they are here. Let's have a look, can we have a look at one of them? Yeah, there you go. There you go, there's a couple of my Scorpions, they're the elite Scorpions. Plasma torpedoes are good, okay. And then I've got another science team and a tachyon beam, which is basically I want to try and reset my deflector abilities, plus I might as well take your shields down while I do it. You'll notice that most builds in Star Trek Online tend to focus around reducing your downtime. You have officer abilities who, you have technicians who reduce everything. You have the Drake build, which reduces abilities with damage control engineers. You have the... I've forgotten what his name is. Mine's Sinkethi, but it's the con officer who reduces your attack pattern time. It's mainly about trying to keep as much uptime as you possibly can. And that's basically what we are looking to do. So, is infected up? Yes, it is. Let's see if we can jump in. And we'll see what... Oh, we can get him right away. Nice. Now, I'm hoping that I get a good run at it. Last couple of times, I've actually got a decent run. But I'm not guaranteeing I'm going to get an awesome run. A couple of things went wrong according to me getting quote-unquote max DPS, because the first time I didn't charge fast enough, I didn't get my stuff launched in time, and the second time I destroyed the tactical cube and then realised the gateway was still up. So I lost like 1,000 DPS just sitting around doing nothing. But as I said, I'm not looking for DPS numbers here. What I'm looking for is to really try and... How can I put this? I want to really try and see if, how sort of viable this build is and how much fun this build is. This build's we've got a lot of carriers in this mission. This is going to be hilarious if everyone's gone the same build. This is going to be absolutely hysterical. But I'm not sure everyone has. So. I forgot to turn combat log on. Oh, things going wrong already. Yeah, you guys come with me. Captain, we've pulled the entire map. That's fine. So one of the big advantages of having all these abilities up is that you can just be a total... You can just spam stuff like absolute crazy. Whoever's repelling, stop it. In the bucket. No shields, scan. Oh, gimme, 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 gimme. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Get over here. Right, you. I'm going to try and shut down its shields, but I'm not sure. The other side of this is because of my energy things, I am actually gaining threat, which is probably not what I want to do at this point, but hey! Oh, smeg. Stop tractoring bits of the Borg cube, would you? Okay, well that went completely terribly. I forgot to turn the combat log on and then various things went wrong, didn't pop things at the right time, but not bad. So basically, even with the ship being flown like a complete idiot, I actually don't usually have my things down here. I have them up here, but because of where the Breen ship actually sits... Hang on, let's launch some more fighters. They all get caught in the explosion. They're dumb as turnips. But, as you can see, 16k. which isn't too bad considering I was flying it like a complete moron. But you'll note, you did see how often like Grabwell was up, Tycoon's Rift was up, etc. So overall, I really like the way this build is going. I'm going to learn to fly it a bit more, and then I'll just start running advanced all the time. I think that the switch to attack pattern beta that I made actually works. Originally I just had 2 fire at wills to tag stuff with more energy weapon damage, but I actually just decided to go attack pattern beta for the debuff. I think it's worked overall. I really do like the tractor beams. I think they're absolutely hilarious. Just dragging things on top of you and throwing stuff out. But anyway, what we're going to do now, well, first things first, I'm actually going to leave the map. Because if I didn't leave the map, that would be pretty appalling. But what I'm going to in is I'm just going to come back and we're going to have a look at that combat in... We're going to have a look at that combat in the combat log reader. And is this the one? Yeah, 15717. So yeah, that was pretty terrible the way I did that, because I ended up getting involved really early, which would have spiked my DPS, and then forgetting I had combat log reader on and then spending ages out of combat, so that was terrible. But you'll actually see in terms of damage done, I mean, what did I get? Oh, Federation class battle cruise. You'll know, because I was dragging a load of threat on me, which is one thing I am a little bit worried about, because I was dragging so much threat onto me, my hull dropped. Because my hull dropped, it meant I could summon a dude. It meant I could summon the Typhoon class battle cruiser. So that was at least a little bit of an well, not an exploit. It was just shot up for being an idiot. But as you can see, my pets do pretty huge damage. But the other thing is, look, plasma fire. Plasma fire is doing more damage than my gravity well 3, because I'm just tagging everything with plasma fire. Now we've got Polaron Beam Arrays. Protonic Polarons, they're doing really nicely, but pets doing a lot of my damage. In fact, if we look at the overall, I think my pets did... Actually, no, we had a pretty good group there. There was only 2 of them who my pets did more damage than. But again, that's due to the fact that there's just plasma torpedoes all over the place in the air, and it's pretty awesome. So I'm quite happy with the way it looks at the moment. If you guys have any suggestions about what you'd like me to, what you think might improve the build, what you think might be a thing for me to have a look at in the future, by all means leave a comment. I think I'm going to use this for a little bit of time. Let's just get a look at some of them textures. Yeah, I think I'm going to use this for a little bit of time for sure. It's been, I've not been able to fly a science-based ship for certainly a science-based carrier for a long period of time, and this is my sort of first attempt at it. I kind of like it. Obviously without my fighters this would be a lot worse, but I think that overall nice build, and I think that it's a nice ship to look forward to in the future. So thanks very much for watching, guys. This is Boomer, and don't worry, StarCraft will be continuing. I just felt that this was a good time to plonk in an STO video, and I will see you all next time. Thanks very much for watching.